What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Real Fans FC, episode 13. Me and Adam back at it again. Going to be talking a wide variety of things. The European season has officially ended. We're in the middle of MLS season, and also international break just passed. So we're going to cover every little bit of that and more. So after taking a week hiatus, we are now back, and we're going to start it off. Hit us with our first topic, Adam.
So our first topic, right now, the golden boot leader in the MLS is none other than Hany Mukhtar. Could he get back-to-back MVPs? Or do you think that the shakeup right now, with all these players coming up, coming into especially in Miami, and I'm sure other teams, he leads with 13 goals, and he also has 7 assists right now. Is he going to get that back-to-back MVP, or is someone else on your mind?
To me, it's Hany's to lose. He has been playing. To me, he's the best player in the league. Yeah, and he's probably going to. He's been so far this year, and obviously was last year getting named the MVP. The guy's been honestly unstoppable, and it's crazy to think. I saw a stat and they're talking about it. This time last year, he only had 7 goals.
Okay,
This time last year, and he
nearly
won
double.
and he won Golden Boot last year with 23. So right now he's on pace to get in the high 20s, close to 30s. I don't think he's gonna like approach any records or nothing this season unless he really turns it up. But the most impressive thing about this and this Nashville team in general, this is a Nashville team who doesn't have a true striker. This is Hany, who is traditionally a number 10 player and has been kind of having to play this 10-9 hybrid to kind of supplement the fact that
I agree. I mean,
striker signings have been falling.
Look at his assists. I mean, he's gotten 13 goals, 7 assists. He's doing it all for them. When I watch him play, I haven't seen a ton of Nashville this season, admittedly, but when I have watched them play, it is clear that he is their driving force. I mean, it is very obvious. I'm sure you'll have, like, now with the Messi fanboys, not saying there's any issue with that, but I'm sure they'll come in and be like, oh yeah, watch, Messi's gonna come in and score 30 goals or whatever, or and assist like 15 or so. I don't know. There's people out there who think that, like, the league shakeup, that it's not gonna happen. But I agree. I think it's Hany Mukhtar's to lose. I'm sure you'll have dissenters because of what's going on with MLS, but it helps that they don't have a striker, because he is the kind of player that can play that role. I don't know if that's the way you want to play it in the long term when you're naturally a 10. But he's got the talent to do it, and it is working for them now. And if it continues down this path, then yes, back-to-back MVPs, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's footwork is insane. I've seen it. I watched the most recent game against not the most recent game, but I watched the game against St. Louis where he got his hat trick, and it kind of that's when a lot of the buzz started spurring up about Hany going back to back. And dude, he's just the best player on the field. And Nashville, even though they're solid defensively, and Joe Willis is having one hell of a year for a goalkeeper, he has just been amazing for he is their entire offense, and he's a big part of why they're scoring as much as they actually are. And it's, like I said, it's impressive to see he's doing this without a true striker in front of him. And all accounts looks like Nashville is going to get that true number 9 in front of him or next to him. However they decide to play right now, they're kind of running a 2 striker system with Leal behind him. So I would still, the thing is, even though, yes, he's a natural 10, he's proven that he is a natural goal scorer. So I would still like to see him maybe even run like that false 9 and maybe do like a 2 striker setup and then just have your one guy directly in front of him, because even though I know he probably wants to drop back more, the guy has shown a clear talent to score goals. So it's like,
Yes,
why not
of course.
keep him up there? And maybe Nashville fans might know better, but like, If I was Nashville, I'd keep him up there in a two striker system, have him run that hybrid role that he's already doing, and run that false nine and just feed the player in front of him and just get the assist. Because yeah, I mean, I think his goals are probably going to drop off if they end up getting that nine, because naturally you're just going to have somebody else occupying that space, especially if they get a DP nine, which it looks like they are, or at least trying to. I mean, the rumors coming out with Leo Campana going over there potentially, and that would have been one hell of a partnership. But it seems like that's kind of fallen through, and Miami's wanting to stick with him. But I mean, the dude is insane. I've been seeing people call him up. They should call him up for the German national team because they're really struggling right now, especially in that
They
10
are.
position.
They are.
Especially in that position. I'm in the boat. Look, for a friendly, give him a shot. Let's just see. Like, I get he didn't perform super well in the Bundesliga, and then he went to Bundesliga 2 and like dominated. And now since he's came here, he's been playing really well. I mean, sometimes players just develop later. Why
Yep.
not like give him a little flyer on a friendly, see how he does? I mean, like you said, Germany's struggling right now. I think Germany's hasn't won a game in 5 games or something like that. So I don't know if that actually happened. I think it's doubtful, but I would like to see just maybe like a friendly just to see like him mesh and go. But yeah, man. I mean, outside of, I mean, who do you think could catch up to him? I mean, a lot of it. We had a lot of Bawanga in the beginning, but it seems like since the CCL final debacle and LAFC's been kind of on a downturn, Bawanga's kind of slowed down a little bit. You still have Almada there getting assists left and right, but it seems like he doesn't have the same scoring prowess that Mukhtar does. Obviously, Almada's still a lot younger, so to me, it's like he's the clear favorite, and it's
Yeah,
his
he's
to
the clear
lose.
favorite. I'd say the
And I
only
think
other
once
two
you
that
give
you
him
can make a
space,
case for, yeah, but the only other two you can make a case for, I agree, Almada, if he just absolutely starts, I think he's going to need more assists. I mean, Mukhtar with just the goals alone, I think uh, would outweigh the assists. But yeah, I guess if you're thinking around those lines, I would agree with what you said with LAFC. You got Almada and maybe even Heel. Um, for New England if they continue to perform well,
yeah.
because
And
they've
that's the
been
thing
doing
with
really good. And
Mukhtar.
he's definitely behind their success as well. Stats may not be as high, but they're more of they have more options. It's not like Mukhtar. Like Mukhtar's doing, like you said, and like we said a couple minutes ago, he's playing two roles, whereas someone like Almada or Heel or even like just another striker is playing their role by themselves. So I think Mukhtar has an advantage by having to fill two roles, being high on assists and high on goals. Um, he has the talent to do it, so I think he's a clear favorite.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that just benefits him more too, because like you can look at Almada, but he's had honestly the newcomer of the year probably Giamakis from Greek, the Greek
yeah,
he's from Greece. He's playing really well in Atlanta. He's one of the top scorers in the league right now. So having him in front of him has really helped in getting that service. But seeing Mukhtar having to play 2 roles, I mean that even gives him more of an edge almost.
yeah,
And I think
because he can
once,
do it. That's why. So like,
yeah,
yeah,
and getting double teamed and getting box to box, like you know what I mean. He's playing it
Yeah, so
all,
if you're talking goals
and
and
if yeah,
assists, Mukhtar leads with 19, Almada with 15 total goals and assists. So it's definitely still tight, but Mukhtar's just the talent. I mean, even when he doesn't get those, um, you know,
yeah.
stats on the board.
Almada has 42 key passes. Mukhtar has 32 key passes. But like we said, we've kind of shown that
Yeah,
Mukhtar's playing a
Mukhtar,
little bit
Mukhtar
more of
has
a
the
different
highest
role.
expected goals. I mean, he's someone who can create those chances for himself as well. Well, he's well clear on expected goals. He's well clear on expected goals on target. Um,
And dude, get him somebody up in front of him that's going to even take the pressure off him even more. It's going to open up and giving him even more space. Dude, it's going to be over. Like
yeah, yeah,
Nashville could realistically catch up to that supporter shield race, or at least be in that conversation to even qualify for Champions League just based off regular season. Because I mean, the team's already playing super well. I think that defensively they've been playing very well, especially with Walker Zimmerman being out. And gosh, can't remember his first name, but that Mayer guy has really stepped in behind Zimmerman super well.
Yeah.
I do want to pull up the standings really quick and see where they stand in supporter shield. So yeah, they are second in the supporter shield right now, 35
Yep.
points.
And
So
Cincinnati, and they're with Cincinnati with goal differential as well, 14 goal differential, joint top of both conferences. So that's also a pretty good stat to have.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, give him some more space, and it could be
Oh yeah, for
dangerous.
sure. We'll be talking about him more definitely towards the end of the season when uh, talks start really ramping up on MVP of the league.
Yeah.
Um,
Golden Boot race, I think, is going to be
yeah,
pretty
and the
tight.
Golden
I
Boot
think,
race as well. We'll be talking about that more. It's going to be tight. It's going to be fun. I'm also curious to see how the assists end up at the end of the season, especially with all the new people coming in. Um, but speaking with new people, we did cover this a couple weeks ago. It was the story of the sporting world, but there are some updates, and I just want to cover some of the headlines since we last recorded an episode. Um, so about to six signing. This is from the owner. I believe it was from Jose Mas himself.
Jorge,
Or was it Jorge? Okay,
Jorge.
Jorge.
I think Jose doesn't really speak.
Yeah.
He's like,
So Jorge spoke with Miami Herald, and 5 to 6 signings are expected. We know that Messi and Busquets are all but confirmed. Alba is most likely going to be the other one, although that one isn't as solid as Busquets. So definitely want to talk about who else we're going to sign. But before we talk about that, I do want to mention that they're also announcing that they will be remaining at Drive Pink Stadium. They will not be going to the Hard Rock. And to help, they will be filling in the empty corners, which would add about 3,000 seats. Um, and then there's another topic to talk about before we move on, but I'll bring that up in a minute. So I'll pass this over to you because for me, I'm stumped. Like I don't really have any other um, options because it doesn't. I don't know where the money is going. I don't know what's going to be left. So if they're saying 5 to 6 signings expected, and let's just assume Alba is going to be the third. So we got Messi, Busquets, Alba coming to Miami. Who are the other 1 or 2 players that you want to sign?
man, I hate the. I know you didn't ask this, but I hate the Busquets. I cannot stay. I've been so anti Busquets
Me too.
for literally a year. As somebody who is a Barcelona fan, watches Barcelona play, the guy cannot keep up, even in La Liga. And La Liga is not even so much of an athletic league as MLS. MLS, yes, La Liga is way more technical, way more skillful. It is a higher level league without a shadow of a doubt. But when it comes to the physicality and the athleticism that's in MLS, it's just much higher. And we've heard it from even someone like Ricky Puig, who came from Barcelona, played in La Liga, and went up that those academy ranks. He said that he runs like a couple kilometers more per game.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
you're in a league in MLS that is a very transition heavy league. Everybody's playing right off the
That's
transition
why
full
I
speed.
never I
And
never
so
just
you
wanted
ask,
Busquets. I never just wanted Busquets before you finish that thought. I hate to interrupt, but I always said that Busquets, I would only take him on the team if you bring him in with these people who he can actually just kind of do something and not have to be the guy that has to run around. So yes, I'm anti Busquets. I think he's old. I don't think he's going to be he doesn't nearly have the physicality to handle this league and where it's going right now. But I'm not gonna cry about it because I think that as long as the signings are right and the structure around it's right, then he can actually just kind of play an anchor, almost like a fifth center back who lays the ball off or not a fifth center back, but the center defensive, just kind of playing right in front of those
Yeah.
two center backs as like the anchor. Um, that's where I'd kind of expect it. But
Yeah. I
like I
mean,
said,
I
I don't
guess
like
I just look
Busquets,
at all
but
these other guys that
they
came
need
in
to
at
get
that
they
position.
need to get people who can run for him.
Dude, look at I don't even because look at the guys at that position. Perlo, when he came to New York
Mm.
City, the dude cannot keep up at all. Who else? Matuidi couldn't
That was
keep
a
up at
waste.
all. Um, oh man, why am I drawing a blank? Blank.
I mean,
Lampard. Like, I mean,
I don't know if he came, but
no, he
but
definitely came, but like regardless, it's like we've seen in MLS these guys come in. It's just that position requires you to be like this destroyer who can go up and down. So, but we'll move on from that. But like as for the Alba thing, I'm a little bit more on the Alba train. He's better. He still has a little bit left. He's playing at a high level. He just
yeah, I
won the
think he's
Nations
got a
League
lot.
with Spain over there over the past week. He played decent in Barcelona this past season, albeit he had injuries. World Cup, he's all right. He's been all right at the highest level. So I think here he's going to play pretty well. And I think having Messi here, we're not going to require our fullbacks to be so far forward like we've been seeing recently in this past season with Franco Negri running so far up
Yeah,
the pitch.
yeah,
And it does kind of suck because I feel like we're wasting so much money in a position we already kind of have. Even though I don't think Franco Negri is the best left back, I'm actually kind of curious to see how well he actually
yeah.
is
I don't think
over these
I've
past
never
couple of
thought
games
Negri was the best either,
defensively.
especially comparing him to Alba. But I actually thought that was where he gave us the most attacking. And I was like, yes, I know we have defensive problems, but I mean, he was someone who always gave full effort. He was always looking to push the envelope, take
Well,
on
that was the thing I
defenders,
was.
get the ball in the box. So yes, he was very attacking, and that left us vulnerable. But I mean, we needed attacking players like that, you
Well,
know?
that's what I was going to say. That's why I'm wondering, like, how much of that was actually him and his play style, or if that's what Phil was asking for him. Because Phil was asking the same thing from Yedlin last year, and even a little bit this year. Like
It's
Phil liked
probably a
those
little
attacking
both. I
fullbacks.
think
So I
Negri,
don't know
the way Negri's playing and the way you can see the way he goes forward,
his
it's
visions,
natural
his
for him.
runs.
It's
Yeah.
natural for him. He does like to. He's an attack. He likes to push the envelope and play attacking. But I think it was definitely a little bit of both because of what you said. Him telling Yedlin to do that in the prior season and a little bit this season. So I think it's definitely a little bit of both. Um, but hey, Phil's not around anymore, so
Yeah.
didn't that's not going to be the thing.
So 5 and 6, I think they're going to work their magic and get Alba on a TAM deal. I think they're
Yeah,
going to
I'm
get that
hearing
done because I
Busquets. Yeah,
thought
Messi, Busquets,
he's
DP.
going to be a
Because we're
DP, which
hearing
is a
that
shame.
DP. Yeah, which
I
it is
already
a shame.
didn't want. I didn't even want Busquets in the first place, but I would have been
Yeah,
okay if he
I
was a
was
TAM.
hoping.
But
Yeah, I
now
was
he's going to
hoping that's
be a
what it was going to be.
DP. That makes it even worse. But I think they're going to work their magic, try to get him on a TAM. I think you have to because from what I'm hearing, Pizarro is definitely gone. You can buy down Gregory, but you can buy down Campana, but I guess that whole system and the mechanisms around MLS, it's a little bit more difficult, I guess, than what people are than it is to just pay him. I guess there's something to it. I don't, these rules in MLS are crazy and weird, and hopefully we see a
Yeah.
change in the
Oh,
offseason with the
yeah.
with Messi coming, which I think we will. And that could be a debate for another day. But
Definitely.
as for the other two players, they're definitely going to be midfielders, for sure. I think you're going to get another defensive midfielder. I think the goal is you want to
What
get.
about a winger? Is there a winger
I
that
don't think
stands out?
so.
Because I think we could
I
use
don't.
someone.
I don't think we're gonna play through the wing. I just don't see that we're
Well,
us
I
playing
don't
through the wing.
necessarily need we need to play through the wing. I mean, like an example in Football Manager, I don't play with wingers, even though I have wingers. I play them either as an inverted winger or as an inside forward, which is what I like. And I've been talking to one of my friends who has coaching badges and coaches for academies. And I say, one of my things that I hated about Inter Miami and about Phil Ball is that he would play too much through the wings to the point where
without
If you
wingers, actually, which is the weird thing.
are you familiar with the
He did it
term
with fullbacks.
the half space?
Yeah, yeah.
So like I would just get absolutely furious because what I would notice is that like absolutely nobody is attacking the half space, and in my opinion, tactically and how I was brought, I think the half spaces are the most dangerous spots. Once you get into the half space, then then the defenders start feeling the pressure. That's the beginning of okay, who you got to make decisions about marking. Okay, you need to push up because people you got skill can just shoot from there. You've seen it time and
Well,
time
and
again,
we've
and
seen
we've
that,
never
and I
played
think,
the half spaces, and
well,
and
I think
I hated it. I just hated it.
I think one player that does do it, and I think you agree with me when I say it, and they've kind of done it a little, and I think he succeeded the most, especially on the right side, is Robert Taylor.
He's the
Robert
only one.
Taylor does
He's the
he does
only
he
one.
occupates
Absolutely agree.
he doesn't go super wide because usually
He
Yedlin's
can to
behind him,
receive the
especially
ball. Like if
well,
they're
usually
give
Yedlin's
him the
behind
ball.
him,
Yes.
and when
No,
he's
I
had his
totally agree.
beautiful skill moves, and I noticed when Phil was playing, we would do a 4-4-2 with the diamond, and if he played the edge of the diamond, the right side of the diamond, he kind of played this flex like central midfield to like wing because you know what I'm saying. So like the diamond, so the two edges of the diamond kind of went out like that, and like when we had Pizarro on one side and Robert Taylor on that side when we're running the diamond, they would kind of do like a diagonal. They wouldn't stay in a straight diamond almost. And so Robert Taylor kind of had that flexibility to play that half
Yeah.
space while Yedlin came in.
And when he
So
would play the
I
half
just don't think we're
spaces and
playing.
use his skill, it would create some brilliant goals either for him or someone else. You know, like they were some plenty of goals that I can remember that are just like that's what I want to see. So I think that'll come with the personnel change, with the coaching change that's expected. Um, I do agree
It's
they're definitely going to go for
potential,
midfielders.
potentially. I guess I think the big thing is if Tata Martino's the coach, which it sounds like he is. Tata
Mhm.
likes to run a 4-2-3-1. I guess my problem is I think I know man, I think they're going to run one striker. I guess my only thing is we
I'm
have
okay
so
with
many
that. It
strikers.
depends on
We
the
have so many
fluidity.
strikers.
If it's a fluid
It's
4-2-3-1, I think it's okay because for Tata, you would have Busquets as your anchor. You'd have whoever's next to him as the box
probably
to box.
Arroyo if he's healthy or a new guy.
Yeah, box to box, more of a box to box. I think is necessary.
Like an eight,
Um,
like a true
and I
eight.
don't mind
I
having the
think that's
one
what it's
side,
going to
and I don't
be.
have mind having the one striker because let's say if you have Messi as the 10, I think he's fluid enough to fill those spaces, um, and the formation will be fluid enough so that it won't seem, let's put it like this, having the one striker formations of Phil Neville. It won't feel like that at all. I don't think.
I guess for me, it's tough to see those other two players because I think one has to be an eight. You have to get another eight. I think Busquets and Arroyo, as of right now, are your 1 and 2 6s because Busquets is not going to run a full 90. Let's be real, especially in this heat, he's not running a full 90.
It's fucking
So
Jesus
Arroyo's going to
Christ,
be his
yeah.
bat.
People are forgetting that. For those of you who
The
are
heat,
who are
yeah,
listening and
it's
it's
fucking
not just hot.
miserable
It's not.
outside.
I know you're thinking, oh yeah, it's Florida, South Florida. It's hot. It's been you guys have no idea. Like I went a couple weeks ago for a work trip to Minneapolis, and they were telling me they were like, oh my God, it's so funny that the Florida guys are coming here because it's the hottest it's been all year. And I look at the weather on the phone, and it's like 82. Feels like 84, and I'm like, are you joking me right now? You don't want to come and deal with this heat. We've had
Dude,
when you
I
give we've had
just
heat wave
walked my
indexes. If you give South, they don't just give South Florida a heat index for nothing because we can handle that shit. They give it to us when it's ridiculous, and it's been like that for a week now, if
It's
not
been
more.
very
It
bad,
has been
especially this week.
been
I
really bad,
I walked
and
my
the
dog
summer, yeah.
before
So it
doing
might,
this show,
yeah,
and I was out there for literally maybe 5 minutes, and I'm like already about to drench. So I had to go rinse my face.
yeah.
It's so fucking thick.
They do mandatory water breaks in here during the summer.
So I think you're having Arroyo who's going to be that backup. I think you're going to get a true eight because with Mata out, you don't really all you have is academy kids, and if you're going to make a comeback and play with Messi, you got to get a true 8 in there. So I think we're going to find an 8 somewhere in South America, someone you never heard of, most likely, who's going to
which
be in
is,
their
I mean,
prime and probably
which is
pretty
fine.
good.
I like
If you can
that.
get another
Yeah,
Mota, if you can get another Mota, Mota and Gregory are probably the most underrated duo midfielders in the league. They're very solid, very good,
I
and
do.
it's they're very
I do
underrated. It's not
agree,
talked about enough, mostly because we suck, and now with
and
them injured,
because they've been
especially worse.
injured. So yeah,
So I think regardless, you're going to get an 8. You're probably going to keep them, and I think Mota could be a great backup behind them. And I guess it's really dependent on how Tata envisions playing Messi. Is he going to play Messi as an inverted winger? Because if he's going to play him as an inverted winger and play him on the left side like he's done a lot in his past, or is he going to play him like he did in the most recent time at PSG as a 10 with two strikers in front of him like they did with Mbappe? And I'm drawing a blank on the other guy, but like that's how they ran it. Towards the end of the PSG season, he was a 10 behind two strikers. So I guess it depends how they see him. Are they going to play him on the wing or play him at 10? I think in this league, it requires wingers to go up and down. So I think they're going to play him as a 10. And with them playing as a 10, even though it's not Tata's forte, something's telling me he's going to want Campana and Joseph on this field at the same time. I just feel as somebody he's familiar with Joseph. He understands what Joseph can be if he has a true 10 behind him, like Almiron before he went off to Newcastle. He was the biggest transfer in MLS history, and he was the main person feeding Joseph. And Joseph had
yeah,
that record year. And now you're giving Joseph Messi behind him. I can't envision Tata not at least seeing what Joseph has with Messi behind him, because even though
I
people
agree.
want to say Joseph hasn't been that good,
And
Joseph,
Tata has
our
experience with that
midfield
too.
has been terrible. Our midfield has been god awful due to
That's
injuries.
the
We had
issue.
never had a 10. So it's like I can't really evaluate Joseph and Campana if they've only getting like 15 touches a game.
And the
So
closest we've had to a 10 was Pozuelo, and that was the best period of our club's history.
look, I'm in the
And we've
ballpark.
always talked about that. Bring him back.
If you could
Bring
bring
him
him
back.
back,
Bring
I would
him
love it.
back. His
I
baby
would
mama
I
lives
would
here.
I would love it.
He
Here's my
loves it
dream,
here. He
and
wanted to stay.
I don't here's my dream, and I don't think it's gonna happen. But hear me out. I think we run a 4-2-2-2, which we done at times, and what I thought this team should have been playing from the beginning. You get Busquets, you get another 8, whoever you get in the transfer market. In front of them, Messi, Pozuelo, and then up top, Campana, Joseph. And look, you're gonna get Pozuelo on a free. I really believe there's a reason why Pozuelo only did a 6-month deal. They worked really hard to make it work with him. I think they're gonna go for round 2, seeing how it works out. And I don't think they're gonna get a DP. I think maybe they're gonna find a way to allocate some TAM money because people are gonna be leaving. Um for sure. I know
Yeah.
obviously Pozuelo, obviously Pisado's gone. I don't know who else might leave. I wouldn't. Maybe you get rid of Negri. Maybe you feel like you can sell him higher than what you got for him if you're going to bring Alba in, because you got a lot of left backs on this roster, and if you plan on bringing Alba, maybe you can move Negri and get some cash for him because he's played pretty decent in this league. I think another MLS team would pick him up. You could probably get some allocation money. So I would love to see that, but I think it's to me. Even though it goes against Tata's DNA of having wingers and running a 4-2-3-1, I think with just the roster that we have, unless they do something major, I think we're going to run with a two striker setup some way
Yeah.
or another, unless they
Yeah.
move from Campana. And that's another thing, unless you move from Campana. But most likely, if you're going to I don't know, it's a real tricky situation because it's like
Yeah.
you have to
It's
take
one
into
of those we
consideration
got
how
so
is
many
Tata going
rumors
to do
coming out.
it? Who else does Jorge Mas have in his eyesight, and what pieces we already have on this team. So it's really tricky. So I'm in the ballpark. We're getting two more midfielders. One's going to be a DP. No, I'm the both of them are going to be probably high TAM players. I think they're going to be no names. I think your big names are going to be Messi, Busquets, and Alba, and outside of
Yeah.
that, it's going to be
Yeah, that's what
some
it
young
appears.
cats from
That's what it
South
appears.
America, which I would love.
It,
I would love some young
yeah,
guys from
I
South
wouldn't mind
America.
that, and that seems to be the direction the club's leaning in. But I think there'll definitely be more to talk about as this develops. It's not even the transfer window doesn't officially open for MLS until beginning of July.
Fifth,
So, yep. So we still got time. There'll be more to talk about. I think we should move on. Um,
yeah, let's go.
all right, and now, so another big news. We move on to USA winning the Nations League. It may not be the most important tournament in the world, but USA have proven that that is their competition, at least for now in its short history, beating Canada in the final and Mexico in the semifinal, taking down both their rivals. Um, we've seen Balogun providing instant impact. Um, I actually think that's great for them. What do you think? Did you watch the game? What do you think of Balogun?
Yeah, so real quick, I think it's kind of sad that the Nations League has become more important than the Gold Cup because
Mm,
FIFA and CONCACAF want them to take it more seriously. So now everybody gives out their A lineups for Nations League, which I feel like is really random. If anything, you think
most
it'd be the
people don't
Gold
care
Cup,
about
but
it that much.
I think the problem is with the Gold Cup is they do it too much. I don't know.
Agreed.
I don't
Yeah.
know why they decided
Yeah,
to
just
make
like a
the Nations
Euro
League.
once every 4 years.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not
they
that
do the
hard.
Gold Cup what every 2 years. I don't know. It's too much, and I, I don't. And even so, like I don't know why they determined to make the Nations League like, oh, this is going to be the serious one. So, but we'll get into the Gold Cup more. But yeah, as for Balogun, yeah, I mean, he's not like he played a stellar game or anything, but he was good. I mean, he was serviceable. He didn't cause. It wasn't like he missed open chances. He was able to be a presence up top, somebody that Mexico and Canada, they had to watch out for. Like, this is a guy who's one of the most lethal scorers in the French league and is going to be high on the transfer market somewhere over in the top 5 leagues. So it was somebody you had to watch out for. And everybody said, like, I mean, even myself, like leading up into the World Cup and the previous tournaments, the biggest question mark was what's going to be the number nine? What's the number nine situation for Team USA? And now this has kind of put it all to bed because there's not a single person in that striker position that comes close to the level that this guy's playing at and to the value that he's at. So, and obviously it's going to take time for him to gel. They've only played two, like he had a couple of training sessions, and then outside of that, they played Mexico and they played Canada. And I believe he got a goal against Canada, right?
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, look, I wasn't expecting him to go lights out and get a hat trick or anything like that. I just wanted him to go up
Agreed.
there, be a presence up top, gel, figure things out,
And mind you, those
and
are
kind
two
and kind of be that
very tough
guy and
games to
be threatening.
introduce yourself to a team. A whole new team, and your first two games are against Mexico in a semifinal, and then Canada in a final. So it's not easy games for him to go into, and I think that helps. A player like him being thrown right into the fire, um, I think is a positive. So I've said in previous episodes that I think this was amazing for the USA. This is exactly what they need, and and what we've seen already, especially that his goal against Canada. I mean, that's what the USA has been missing. Someone who can sit off the back shoulder and then one good through ball and bam, he's gonna finish it and put it in the
Be
back of the net,
lethal.
no doubt. It's that clinicality. It's that eye for goal. Just being always on the back shoulder, waiting for that through ball. That's what USA needed. So that's gonna be um, something to talk about.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's just going to get better as time goes
yeah,
on,
I
and
think it's
as
gonna get
long
better.
as yeah, and I
But
mean,
I'm
as
worried
long as
about
you keep on playing
some people are worried about the
Geo
fact
as a
though that
natural 10, yeah,
Berhalter will be coming back. Um, because I think this is a good time to talk about that too. Do you think that's going to affect it? Do you think after seeing what this team can do in the Nations League, he's not going to play too much with it, or do you think that there's some questions bringing him back?
So here's my whole stance on the whole Berhalter thing. It is probably the most idiotic, stupidest, like incompetent thing the U.S. Soccer Federation has ever done. This is a guy that you let go, didn't renew his contract. You go months without filling the position, openly saying and hiring an outside force to go find another coach just for you to bring the same mediocre coach back to the league. And everybody that defends this, saying, look at his win percentage, look at this, look at that, is absolute horse shit and doesn't know fucking ball. You don't know ball. I don't give a fuck about his winning percentage. At the end of the day, he rid off the coattails of what Jurgen Klinsmann built by forcing kids to go to Europe and forcing the federation to push MLS to send these kids over to Europe. Berhalter got gifted with these talented players with European experience at young ages with a lot of pace, and he still almost fucked it up. And I think the only reason why he made it as far as he did in the World Cup and winning these tournaments was because of the talent that was there, not because of his tactics. Van Gaal openly said that his tactics were lackluster and he got outcoached. That Netherlands game, he got outcoached. I don't
Yes.
give a fuck what your win percentage is if you're beating up on lower level CONCACAF Caribbean island nation teams. You finished third in qualifying.
Oh, and we'll talk
You
about that in the
lost.
Gold Cup. I have some comments
Yeah.
about that in the Gold Cup
Yeah.
to
Well, you lost.
reinforce
You
that
went to
point.
third in qualifying against with your A team. You lost in San Jose, Costa Rica against a Costa Rican B team. And you lost to their A team. And then on top of that, you have all the drama about not bringing Pepe, but you bring Jesus Ferreira, which, yes, he's good in MLS, but he's been proved time in and time again. This guy's got plenty of chances with the national team and has never delivered. He's had one goal, one good game against a club like Granada. I don't care that you beat Granada 5-0. That doesn't prove anything to me. You went into a group with England, Wales, and Iran, and you only won one. You won it by one goal. That's not impressive. And then you get outcoached by the Netherlands with the golden generation of the United States men's national team. Bruce Arena went farther with that, like with bumps. Like, I mean, let's be real. And look, I'm an MLS fan, but if you are, to switch to me as a U.S. men's national team, there's certain players in the MLS that should not be on this team. If anything, there's better MLS talent that's out there. As on this, not your Acostas, not your Jesus Ferreira, not your Paul Areolas, not like all these guys. Like these are guys who are. This is it. This is all they're going to be. Not your DeAndre Yedlins. Like these are guys. Like if you're going to play MLS players, play the young guys, the guys who are 21 and 22 years old, who are put them in these national teams. Have them a chance to showcase themselves like Jesus Ferreira did, like Ricardo Pepi. They proved themselves. Ricardo Pepi then went off to get sold. Jesus Ferreira, that didn't happen, even though I think eventually probably will because he's still lighting up in the MLS. But I was never a Berhalter fan. I thought the guy was not capable. He didn't know how to pick formations based on what he has. And I think BJ Callahan, the assistant to the assistant, came in, stepped up, and actually played a formation that actually fit what they're supposed to do. Why are we running Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Yunus Musa in your midfield? You're bringing no creativity to the strikers that you did bring. And yes, those are all good midfielders. But at the end of the day, you're bringing in box-to-box and defensive midfielders. McKennie and Musa are not going to be able to feed who's ever at striker. They're not going to be able to feed Pulisic. Not going to be able to feed Weah, who looks like he's going to Juventus, by the way. Like, this is like, it's stupid. And then we see in the Nations League, it's like you now bring in Gio Reyna, BJ Callahan, put him in his natural position as a 10 to be that creator, and look what happened. They didn't just beat Mexico. They didn't just beat Canada. They obliterated them. It wasn't even close. And this is what it should have been for the past 3 years under
Yep.
Berhalter's control. This at the end of the day,
Totally agree.
Mexico's A team is not nearly as good as USA's A team. Canada catching up, but there's still not enough talent there. Mexico has their own issues, and this is probably the worst Mexican team that's been around in decades, probably 40 years. This is one of the worst Mexican teams ever. And it's still their own fault because they don't want to send their players off to higher level leagues. They think of themselves way too high. And it's like, look, you put up a team, a bunch of Liga MX players outside of Chucky Lozano, and you go against all these other players who are scoring it up in Europe. Like, it's just not even close. And I hope Greg can look at what Callahan did, and Callahan stays with his assistant and like, look, we need to play these players in their natural positions and come up with tactical formations based off what the game is thrown in front of us. If you're playing a Mexico or you're playing a Wales or an Iran, why are you running a 4-3-3 when you have Gio Reyna on the bench? Like, it is asinine. So I hope, even though I firmly believe unless you win or you go the highest you've ever made it to a World Cup, I think you should always get rid of a coach. I firmly stand by it. Like, Greg Berhalter did nothing special. If anything, he underperformed a little bit, and you need to move on. Go find someone else. This is a federation with a lot of money. Like, you can make it happen. Bring someone else. But instead, they brought the same mediocre, haphazard coach who hasn't won shit. And let's not forget, he coached second division in Sweden, and then he made it to one MLS final in with Columbus. It's like, this guy, he probably should have never got the job in the first place. I was a big fan of the talks of bringing Patrick Vieira from Crystal Palace over. Like, to me, I would have loved that. This is a guy with a proven record who's done really well, very well respected, knows the American player and the American system, and has won. He's even won an MLS Cup. I was all for the Patrick Vieira. I think that was the best name ever linked to the U.S. men's national team. Not fucking everybody rooting for Jose Mourinho makes no sense to me. But
Yeah.
that whole Berhalter thing, when I saw that, I just started laughing. I'm like, gosh, I thought the Costa Rican national team was a shit show. Look at this. At least the U.S. actually has talent on the field. They're calling up the right players. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I mean,
you said it all there. I totally agree. I think that tactics that they played just proved how good they can be. Um, I don't want to talk too much more about it because you really did say everything that,
I'd rather
needs to
have
be said about that.
Callahan over
Yeah.
Berhalter,
Yeah. I
honestly.
mean, after that
Callahan came in
performance,
here,
yeah. But
one that dominated the National
oh,
League because he
100%.
played the players in the right
Mhm.
fucking positions. It's not that hard, man.
Yeah.
Especially in this in this region,
Yeah.
like in CONCACAF.
Yeah, but before we move on to talking about the Gold Cup preview, I have to mention this just because I was so annoyed at it that I had to put it in for this podcast, was the refereeing performance from the Mexico USA game. Luckily, it did not impact the game. I think it was a deserved 3-0, as we just talked about, for America. But I mean, the ref, if you talk about losing control of a game and the definition of what you don't want to have happen as a referee, well, they should play that video of that 90 minutes on tape for every referee in school to
It's
know that that's what
disgusting.
you can't do. I mean, that was
It was
absolutely,
disgusting.
he could have, because let's be honest, and I'm not even,
Completely
you know,
lost control of the
I'm
game.
not,
Completely lost.
and I know it seems like, oh yeah, he's from Florida, like I don't even really care that much about, like, I'm more to my roots like a Polish national team than I am like American. So sometimes like I could step back and be unbiased about this, and yet still it was not the Americans. I mean, the guys handing out red cards to both Mexico and a USA player when in reality it's just a Mexico player who should get the red card because it's just disgusting play. And then you got fans, Mexican fans also helping in that bad behavior by throwing shit onto the field. um, it was just an all-out shit show. I think that referee had probably one of the worst nights of his career, and he needs to understand why and how stupid that both, giving multiple red cards like that what was. I mean, you could have easily stopped the game by just actually recognizing who did the act and giving that person a red card and telling everyone to stop, because
Watch
that's just how it
VAR.
ends it.
I mean, like,
They're not even. They didn't want to. They didn't even want to. It's like, oh, there's too much shit. It's like it's inconvenience for them being there. It's like, oh, let's just get this shit over with. So that I just had to mention because it just pissed me off so much, and I'm sure you
to end a
agree. I mean,
game
if you wanna add
9-9,
anything
I will
to
say
it,
this.
but that's pretty much all I have to say. The referee was abysmal, and the red cards to the Americans, you could make an argument for them getting the red card, but in terms of game management and the aggressor, it's clearly the Mexican team, and they should have been the ones just getting the reds, not the Americans.
Yeah, the most egregious was the McKennie one. That was ridiculous.
That's
The dude
stupid.
literally walked off the field with a ripped shirt with hands around his neck, but yet he got the red
He
card.
gets the red
Makes
card. The only
absolutely no
benefit of that
sense.
is Americans have a nice meme slash picture, just regular picture of Weston kissing the badge while he's walking off the
And then
field, the
who
ripped
who was
badge.
the one that got choked up? There's somebody who had their arm around their neck too. I'm drawing a blank.
I am too, but
Oh
because it was
my
just
god.
so
Who
chaotic.
I forgot
I
I
didn't.
forgot who
I
it
wasn't
was.
even. I wasn't even. I don't even care because it was just. Regardless, it was just a joke.
I'll say
Uh,
this: if
an
it's
absolute freaking joke.
if the game ends on a 9v9, there's a very good
Something went
chance
wrong.
that ref lost control of the game and didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Sometimes,
Obviously, there's
I'm sure.
situations where
Yeah.
it's like
Exactly.
it's a flat out brawl, and then it's like boom, red, 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 red. But in a lot of cases, when you see that many people with red cards, it's most likely due to the ref lost control of the game. Um, and then yeah, obviously the Mexicans being sore ass fucking losers, and it's like, I mean, I get the fans and I feel for the fans because it's like their federation has fucked them over so much, and the Liga MX and all the higher ups of the Mexican football has like really fucked up the national team and the league itself. So I see them getting upset. No excuse to throw shit. Um, but what's it called? But as for the players, it's like, bro, just take your fucking L. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
It
just
was. It
not as
was
talented.
embarrassing.
Like
It was
just face
embarrassing.
it. For you to get all upset and all angry, and it's like, no, just take your L. It's embarrassing. Stop being a little bitch. You lost. You're losing. You're not as good. Accept it. It's just like, as for the players, like, I don't know. And rightfully, that coach got fired, Diego Coca, like after like 3 months or 4 months of getting hired. Um, that Mexico, I don't think is going to be back to their powerful ways in a long time. I think it's going to require them to get a complete rebuild and
Yeah. They
restructure of
need to.
how
Yeah.
they do
They're in
everything.
trouble right now for sure.
They need
But
to look
that.
at what America's been doing. Honestly, you need to
Yeah.
send your players
But
over.
I think
You need to.
that's a perfect segue into our next topic, which is the Gold Cup preview. Um, like I was saying, we're going to, when you said with Berhalter and his win percentage, a lot of, especially in the group stage, a lot of cupcake teams that are just absolutely going to get trounced. So that's where your win percentage gets boosted, and it's really in the
Well,
knockouts
then
that we
also the
really start to
friendlies
see
they pick.
everything.
That was the problem. The friendlies they picked. They picked friendlies. They never played away from home. I think their away record was like super low. I think they barely played any away games, like barely outside of qualifying. But I'll pull up
Yeah.
the group
Yep.
stage right now.
Yep.
Yeah, we can talk about the tournament as a whole here. So let's run through super quickly, and
Yeah,
then maybe we can
we don't
kind of
want
give
to take
our
too much time because
projection.
as this moves into knockout, then it'll be worth talking more because I think
Yeah.
this group stage with the teams that you guys see in here, it's pretty obvious what we're gonna think.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
so we're gonna go with our top one. So we'll go with Group A. We got Jamaica, Saint Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad, Tobago, and USA. Obviously, I think it's gonna be USA topping the group, then
yeah,
Jamaica,
USA.
then Trinidad,
Yeah,
and then Saint Kitts and Nevis. Shout out to them; they make their first Gold Cup ever, the smallest
yeah,
country in the Concacaf region. So pretty cool achievement for them. But we all know how it's gonna be:
yeah.
USA,
We know
Jamaica, Trinidad,
USA is
and
definitely gonna move
Saint
on.
Kitts.
Jamaica, Trinidad, I think actually could go either way. But I'll tend to
Jamaica's
agree with you
good,
here.
dude. Have
Yeah,
you
I'll tend to
seen their
agree. I'll
player
tend to
pool?
agree with you. Their player pool is just better right now, so I would agree. Jamaica's second.
Quick thing, Jamaica, if they can get, they're another one where they're federated. A lot of CONCACAF has just shit federations that are all over the place, and Jamaica is another one where they have so much talent and won over so many English dual nationals from England.
Mm,
Like they, if they genuinely got their shit together, they could be a threat in this confederation, like a serious
absolutely.
threat. And obviously, CONCACAF needs as much competition as possible, but I don't know. I think they're my sleeper pick this Gold Cup. I think they can make a decent run to at least the semifinals. All right, so the next one we got Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, and Qatar. Mexico, I think, clearly tops the group. I think Haiti gets last because of
I
with all the
agree.
political situations they're having, and I think it's going to be a tough
Yeah, it is
tough
tough
battle between
between
Honduras
Honduras
and
and Qatar because Qatar
Qatar.
didn't look out of place at the World Cup. They did
And even the
not at
last
all.
Gold Cup, they got
Yeah.
out of the group in the last Gold
Yes.
Cup.
So I'll
Man,
give it to them there. I think Mexico, Qatar.
yeah, Mexico, Qatar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Man, Honduras had a really rough qualifying Nations
Yes.
League, man,
Yeah.
and Nations League. I think I'm gonna go with you here, man. Sorry to all my Hondurans. They're kind of going through a rebuild themselves. I'm going Mexico, Qatar. All right, Group C, which I think is the toughest group out of all of them. Group of
Really?
death, some will say. Yeah.
You think so?
Costa Rica, El
I think
Salvador,
El
Martinique,
Salvador
and
is a bit
Panama.
overrated. Um,
Costa Rica, El Salvador, Martinique, and Panama. I think we can all agree Martinique gets last place. And then we go to the big three in this group, which I think Panama tops the group. I think they have the best coach out of everybody. I think they
yeah.
got decent enough talent. They performed very well at the Nations League. The reason why they're in the Nations League is because they knocked off Costa Rica in the group stage. Because that game between Panama and Costa Rica determined who got into the Nations League final to go against Canada. So I think Panama tops the group, and here's where it's tough for me because look, I've told you off air and a lot. Like the Costa Rican national team has been an absolute shit show. They, for some reason, keep on holding on to Luis Fernando Suarez, a guy who is proven to not be good enough for this team. He selects terrible, washed out old players that play in the Costa Rican League, except you have such a good player pool out there that's playing in MLS, that's playing in Europe, and he's not calling him in. He refuses to call in wingers. It gets me so irritated because I know this team can be better, and we have so much young talent. And yes, Costa Rica is missing that missing middle generation, that 24 to 29 generation. We have that missing middle because the guys we thought that were going to fill in that spot that should be playing now in their mid 20s didn't end up panning out. And then the ones that have, they refuse to call them up for whatever reason. So I'm a little on the fence. And also, too, Costa Rica just lost their last couple friendlies against Guatemala. They lost to Ecuador, which is whatever. I think Ecuador is a better team right now. But you lose to Guatemala, which is absolutely embarrassing. Like Costa Rica for 2 decades now have been the third place team, have been in the top three of CONCACAF. And it's all going down the drain because we won't get rid of this bum who got by in the skin of his teeth into World Cup qualifying, barely made it in. He barely somehow they had a decent performance in the World Cup stage, which I think they're overrating way too much because I think a lot of it just had to do with Germany playing really bad because we saw what happened with Spain did to them, absolutely obliterated them. And I think they got lucky with Japan, and Germany's just so bad they put them on the ropes. So I think they're overrating that World Cup performance. I'm not I think I'll say this. I wouldn't be surprised if Costa Rica gets knocked out of the group stage. They shouldn't. They're by far the most talented team in this group. If you look at their player pool and even the roster they brought, I still think they're the most talented team. but I just don't trust that coach. You want to talk about Jose Mourinho playing dinosaur
Yeah, I
football
know, right?
and just slow block. This guy takes it to a whole nother level. He
No,
rolls
I agree with you, and I think that's
Joel
gonna
Campbell
hurt.
up
Oh
top
my
and no
god.
one else.
Yeah,
And no
that's
one
just not good.
else. And I
But
love Joel Campbell. I love him, but you gotta give him somebody. He just won
yeah,
CONCACAF Champions League in Leon. It's like give him someone to feed off of, and it's not gonna work. So but you're right. El Salvador is known for being super leaky with their goals. They don't look
yeah.
good. They've been growing.
So
So
yeah, so I agree with you. I think Costa Rica. Well, I think they're gonna get through the group with Panama, but I think
I think they get
that
out.
everything
But
that you
I'm just
talked
saying I wouldn't
about,
be
yes,
surprised if
and
El Salvador
and I
gets
can
in.
see that, but I think it's gonna hurt them later in the competition when they get to the knockouts. That's when it's really gonna hurt.
And I will say this right now, he is on the hot seat. And if he doesn't get out of this group, he's for sure gone. So a part of me, a little inkling in me, I never want Costa Rica to lose. But a part of me wants them to lose and not make it through the group stage just so there's no more
Hey,
excuses. You got to get rid of them
that's how I
because
felt with
it
Phil this entire first half
because
of the season. I was starting to get to the point where I just wanted him to lose just so that they could spare us of this bullshit.
because Costa Rica media has been super on his ass. It's been super, especially since not making the Nations League. That was like a big like draw and like seeing Panama get ahead of you.
Yeah.
So I still think they get out though. I think a successful run would be the semifinals. But yeah, I think it's going to be Costa Rica, Panama. I think Panama tops the group without a doubt in my mind, and I just wouldn't be surprised also. But we can go to the next one, and this is pretty much like a done deal. Canada,
Canada for
Cuba, Guadeloupe,
sure.
and Guatemala. Canada clearly clears the group, and then I'm going to go with Guatemala here,
Yeah,
especially the
Guatemala are
performance they had
definitely.
against Costa Rica. And from what I understand, don't really follow Guatemala national team, but they have a solid young group.
Yeah,
From
I
what
agree.
everybody's telling
They're
me,
good, but I did see that they in their last game against Cuba, who actually surprisingly haven't been awful, did beat
so Cuba's been
Guatemala
winning a.
1-0. So they've been surprising. So I would agree. I think Guatemala is probably the favorite to go through in the group over Cuba, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cuba shock and move on.
Me too. Yeah, I think Guadeloupe gets last. And
Yes.
shout out to Cuba. I think they've been doing a really good job. Their national team, not the country.
Yeah, I
I
know,
think
right?
they've been doing a
We're
really
gonna
good
lose all our
job
Miami
of
supporters in one
getting a
sentence.
lot of American based players. Like I think even Inter Miami is sending homegrown talent. I think Inter Miami homegrown talent is representing Cuba. So they're getting a lot of Americans, especially here. And I think they've slowly been on the rise. Cuba was a place you never thought would even be in the Gold Cup, and now
Oh
they're in
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
I think as long as Inter Miami plays well and they have good academies, you might start to see a lot of those academy with the amount of Cubans that are down here. You might see a lot of those academy kids start getting called up, which we're already starting to see. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much our group. So for Group A, like recap one more time: USA, Jamaica. Group B, we have Mexico, Qatar. We're pretty much all in agreement. Panama, Costa Rica, and then Canada and Guatemala. So, but I definitely think groups. I think the biggest matchup that you're going to want to see is probably going to be Costa Rica, El Salvador. I think that's really where you're going to see like depending who moves on, but everybody else. And I also think Qatar versus Honduras is going to be kind of interesting as well
Yeah,
because I think
yeah.
those two matches are going to determine who gets in. But yeah, so let's move over to the picks of the week. We'll run through this pretty quickly, and then we're going to go over to our latest news in the European market. So we haven't done these picks in a little bit.
But
So
they are updated.
yes. So I do want you to do this, Adam. Can you go to the FOT mob and go to the standings and go to pull up the last 5 matches? I think it'd be a good reference for us to kind of like pick these players. Even though I think we do a good job picking teams that we think is going to win. But I think it'd be a nice little reference to see what the last 5 matches are for these guys.
All right.
You got it. So I forgot which match day number this is, but you will see it in the title. So let's pull it up here. I believe this has got to be match day 21, I think. But if I'm
If
wrong,
every
I'll be
team,
correct.
ooh, yeah, because yeah,
Am I
Sporting
right
Kansas
on?
City have 20 games played, so yeah, it's match day 21.
Okay, awesome, man.
Wow,
I completely guessed that. Let's go.
that's fucking wild.
I knew it was somewhere around there. I knew it was kind of close. So, yep. So let's get into it. First game of the week, we got Charlotte versus Montreal. Charlotte minus 115 at home. Montreal plus 270 away, with the draw being a plus 250. I think Montreal's starting to kind of like develop and play a little bit better. Charlotte has as well. I think this is going to be a little bit of a sneaky good game. They're both trying to get out of that bottom dweller of the Eastern Conference. What is their last 5 games looking like for both teams?
For Montreal, they have 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. Charlotte have 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 draws.
Yeah, so Montreal, kind of like I
Montreal have
said, I
looked a
think
different team. I would definitely
they've
take
been playing
Montreal
really
on this
well. I
one.
think Ariel Lassiter's playing very well for that. I think Bryce Duke scored a goal. Inter Miami players continue going on that role. When they go to another team, they play well. So I'm going to go Montreal here. Yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
coming in strong.
So we're both
I
in
think that's good
agreement for
money.
that one. Yeah.
270 on Montreal. I
That
think
is
that's
good
good money
money.
in the
I
game.
think that is good money.
All right. New York Red Bulls versus Atlanta United. New York Red Bulls minus 110. Atlanta United plus 270, with a plus 240 as the draw. So
Yeah, New York
I
Red
don't
Bulls are
believe
coming
either of these
off
teams.
a win, loss, draw. Atlanta are draw, 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 win, draw. So very interesting.
So
Last
yeah,
five
and
games.
I think both. So New York Red Bulls. Actually, no, yeah, neither teams I don't think are going to be missing anybody to the Gold Cup, because that's something we have to take into consideration. Um, I like Atlanta, man. I really do. I know New York's pretty strong at home, but Atlanta, I'm going to go with the draw here. I think Atlanta and Giamakis and Almada and Caleb Wiley and Jarek Etienne are going to be playing really well. So I'm going to go with the draw. I think they're going to get enough to get a goal. I don't think you could shut out Atlanta.
Yeah,
So I'm going
I'm
to go
actually
draw
gonna
here.
go Atlanta here. I just yeah, it's with New York at home, it's their best chance, but I'm looking for Atlanta to stop this drawing BS. I think they have the talent, and I think this is a good team to do it against.
All right. Next game, Columbus Crew versus Nashville. Columbus Crew minus 110, Nashville plus 250, with the draw being a plus 250. So this is another team. I'm trying to think if they're missing anybody. They're going to be missing. Nashville's going to be without Walker Zimmerman, but they proved that they've been able to fill it in during his injury.
And
That
both
they didn't really
teams
need
have
him.
the same exact record in the last 5.
So I think this is going to be a really solid game. I think the odds towards Nashville is a little high. But I'm gonna go draw here as well with that plus 250.
I agree. I like a draw here. These two teams, um, the way they're playing, it really could go either way. So I think a draw is probably a safer bet here for us in that case.
All right, let's do DC United versus
Oh
FC
shit.
Cincinnati. DC United plus 105, FC Cincinnati plus 200, with the draw being at plus 250. So, mind you, FC Cincinnati is going to be without Brandon Vasquez, their main striker up top. So, this is where it gets a little interesting. You're still going to have Lucho there, which is obviously one of the best 10s in the league. Lucho has been a monster and actually applying to get his United States citizenship, so could potentially be USMNT eligible event in the future, which would be nice to have some depth at that 10 position behind Reina. But man, I think I'm gonna go draw here as well. I think Cincinnati. I think no matter what, they can get one in the back of the net. DC has been, well, whatever. They haven't really been great. They haven't really been bad either. I'm gonna go draw here.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
think
looking.
Cincinnati keeps the point streak alive.
I see what you're saying with Cincinnati, but they've looked really good. Only dropping 2 points in their last 5 games with a draw. I still think that Cincinnati, they're one of the top dogs in the conference, and I think it'll show. So I'm going to pick
And
Cincinnati.
We're rooting for no home teams, but that's probably going to change in this game. New England Revolution versus Toronto FC. New England minus 175, Toronto plus 390, with the draw being a plus 300. New England Revolution will be without DeJuan Jones, their left back, who's one of their best players on the team, one of the best left backs in the league, honestly.
Yeah.
But I still think they have tons of depth, and as long as you got Carlos Hill up there, anything's possible. I like New England at home. I think they win this game. Toronto's been a shit show. But give us the last 5 games. I think we all pretty much got I think me and you both got New England. Everybody else
Yes,
will,
I
but just give us
agree,
the
but
last
I
5
will.
games for you.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention that, but we are in agreement. New England have 3 draws, 2 wins, and Toronto have 3 draws, a win, and a loss.
Toronto continues to
Be
go
mediocre.
farther and farther down the drain. All right, man. Heavy favorites here. Philadelphia Union minus 270 with Inter Miami plus 550, with the draw being a plus 380. New England, now that CCL's over and they got knocked out, they've kind of gone back on a resurgence. They're kind of playing at the level we expected them to be. Inter Miami still continues to go down the dumps. 6-game losing streak. And now they're going to go to Philadelphia, one of the toughest places to play against one of the best teams in the league. I'd be crazy to pick anything other than a Philadelphia Union win.
Yeah, this is the easiest pick of the week, and the odds reflect that. So, yeah, that's pretty
Injuries
obvious.
have been piling up for Inter Miami,
and big players are not coming yet. So we're gonna have to wait about another month before you start seeing these big names that we're talking about.
I mean, they keep on going down this hole. Messi's not going to be able to save them.
By the way, before we move on, Busquets was officially announced by the club while we were recording. I don't know if you checked.
What,
but
really?
Yeah,
oh my god!
They posted one of those videos, weird ones with like posts of him. Yeah. So that is official. Busquets is official, and let's move on.
F my life. All right. All right. Austin FC versus Houston Dynamo. Austin FC plus 105, Houston plus 220, with the draw being a plus 250. We got a little bit of a Texas derby here. Austin finally getting a very strong win this past week, but Houston is on a absolute tear right now.
You called me crazy for the last picks. The last time we did picks, I picked Houston at home, and you were like, "Really?" And you went the other way. And I looked at those scores, and I felt very smart about myself. Houston have been looking really good, especially at home. And boy, I didn't expect that result, but it was 4-0.
So my thought process was that Houston has been decent at home, but they haven't been like dominant either, and they haven't been like when they're away from home, they're around mid-table. But Houston now has really stepped in and actually winning away as well. I believe they're 7-1-1 in the last 9 games, something like that.
Yeah, they've won 3 straight.
So I think this is going to be a really good game, especially at Austin. Like I said, I think Austin, I don't know if they're going to make it back into the playoff race. They've had such a rough start, but they started to play a little bit better. So I'm going to go draw here. I think it's going to have a Houston Austin draw with a plus 250.
What is Austin's last 5 games? Pick. Austin's last 5 games, they have a loss, win, loss, win. Houston, like I said, 3 straight wins. Before that, 2 L's. But they've been looking really good. I just have to stick with Houston right now. They're the hot team. They are probably one of the hottest teams if you're talking about form. Yeah, I mean they are. I'm scrolling through. I'm scrolling through the last 5 games. In terms of form, they are the hottest team, besides maybe Cincinnati.
So let's go to another team that's been a little bit on a streak lately and have been kind of redeeming themselves from such a weak beginning. Sporting Kansas City versus Chicago Fire. Sporting Kansas City minus 145. Chicago Fire plus 330, with a draw being a plus 280. Chicago continues to go down the hole, especially without Shaqiri at the helm, still injured. Sporting KC, on the other hand, is starting to play pretty well. They're actually gone on a little bit of a run. They've pushed themselves into the playoff picture. And I got Sporting KC here, but give us the last 5 games for both teams.
Sporting KC, a little wishy-washy, but some of those were against good teams. They are win, loss, draw. and Chicago are draw, draw, loss, loss, win. So this is a
And
tough
even if
one,
you
but
go past, and even
I
if you
have
go
to take
past those
KC
five
at home.
games,
I just
and
have
even
to.
if you go past those 5 games for KC, they've actually been pretty well. They've been doing pretty decent. They're kind of digging themselves out of that hole.
Yeah, but I do have to pick KC for this one, especially at home. I think that's going to help them.
And let me see something here. Yeah, and then you got Alan Polito too. He's been really stepping up. I was trying to see if he I saw he played last night. I was just trying to see how far back he went. But yeah, I mean, they're one of their big signings for them, and he's been playing very well since he's gotten back from injury. I was just trying to see how many games he's been playing. But yeah,
Yeah.
big pickup. KC just got better getting one of their star players back. So now let's go to the dumpster that is the bottom of the Western Conference and is the Colorado Rapids versus the LA Galaxy. Colorado plus 110, LA Galaxy plus 200, with the draw being at plus 240. Honestly, I'm a little stumped here. I mean, you're talking about the two of the three worst teams in the league. But oh man, I think LA wins. I think LA gets a victory away.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. If you look at the last five, I mean, not that it matters too much, but LA loss, loss, win, draw, draw, where Colorado are loss, 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 draw, loss. So I think Colorado are one of the weakest teams in this entire league. LA, they're not much better, but I think at least
Chicharito out for the season.
yeah, at least they got, you know, a creative force in Ricky Pooch. Um, they got someone that can save them, and Colorado don't.
I tell you what, that Chicharito blow
I mean,
hurts
that
big
ruins their
time.
season for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's go with another rising team, Real Salt Lake versus Minnesota United. Real Salt Lake plus 100, Minnesota United plus 220, with the draw being a plus 250. I like Real Salt Lake. They're starting to play really well. We didn't get the chance to talk about it because we were missing last week, but Chicho Arango coming from Mexico to Real Salt Lake after leaving LAFC because LAFC didn't want to give him the money he deserved. And now LAFC paid for it by losing the Champions League when they could have used him right there. So I love to see him kind of get a little bit of revenge and come back to MLS and have a team that's actually paying him what he's worth. I think that's one thing you're going to see in a lot of these big markets like Miami and LA's. They're always going to be very hesitant to sign like guys who are good players, but not necessarily have the name behind them. And I think that's what LA was doing is like, do we want to pay a guy named Chicho Arango who no one really knows outside of the MLS? Or are we going to want to see that spot open for like a big name guy that will bring butts in the seats? But nonetheless, it's to the benefit of Real Salt Lake. Minnesota has been a little bit down lately. But Real Salt Lake playing very well. I'm going to go Real Salt Lake at home. I like the odds of the plus 100, but we'll give us the
Yeah,
last 5 games
I
for both
agree.
teams.
Real Salt Lake, um, their last five is a loss, win, draw, win, win, and Minnesota have a win, draw, loss. So the hotter team is definitely Real Salt Lake. Minnesota's not a horrible team, but with this recent bad form, they are just sitting above LA Galaxy and Colorado. So I think at home, Real Salt Lake should be the clear favorite here.
All right. Now we got LAFC versus Vancouver Whitecaps. LAFC obviously going to be without Aaron Long due to U.S. men's national team duty. But I like LA at home regardless. There's still so much talent on that team.
Yeah, at
And
home,
yeah, they're going to
yeah,
win.
they've had a little bit of some hiccups. Uh, last time we did the picks, especially. Although I did kind of see that one coming. LAFC's last five draw, loss, loss, but they got back to winning ways with two wins in a row. Whereas Vancouver, they are very up and down, win, loss, win, draw, draw. So yeah, at home LAFC have to be considered the favorites here.
All right, let's go with two teams especially that aren't playing up to their strengths, especially New York City FC. But Portland Timbers versus New York City FC. Portland minus 105. New York City FC plus 260 with the draw being a plus 240. New York City has not won in 2 months. New York City has not won in 2 months. And now you're going over to Portland, a team that
Yeah, it's a
hasn't been playing super well
long trip.
either. Team that hasn't been playing well either, but they've been playing better than New York City. So I'm going to go with Portland
Definitely.
here, but give us the last
And
5
it's a tough place to play as well. Like you say with New
games.
York City FC, they have not won in a while. Loss, draw, 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 draw. And for Portland, we have loss, draw, win, draw, loss. So one that just can't get 3 points and one that just can't stay consistent. But with this long, long trip for New York City, I think it's going to benefit Portland here. So I would see it
Hey,
being like a 1-0 or
MLS
something.
MLS 2001 finals rematch.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not worth really much right now.
Yeah, and New York. Remember, New York won in Portland too, just 2
Yeah.
years ago. So not even 2 years ago, like a year and a half ago. So pretty crazy to see how both have fell. That shows how much MLS can go up and down. But now we got Seattle Sounders versus Orlando City at Seattle minus 110, 120. Orlando City plus 290 with a draw being a plus 240. I'm going with Seattle here. Easy pick.
Yeah, so Orlando, their last 5 draw, win, win, loss, draw. And Seattle, win, loss, draw, draw, loss. So Seattle have had a rough few weeks, but they're still in the top 3 of the Western Conference. And at home against Orlando, another long, long away trip for Orlando, um, who who have improved a little bit this season, but I still would go with Seattle on this one.
All right. And then we're going to the final game of the week, San Jose Earthquakes versus St. Louis City. San Jose plus 105, St. Louis plus 200 with a draw being at plus 250. I'm gonna go. So St. Louis out with 2 DPs.
Yeah, they've been
I
struggling with
want.
that too.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think St. Louis has kind of came back down from earth. Granted, like I said, without Joel Klaus and their other DP, they've been kind of struggling. But I'm gonna go San Jose here. I think San Jose is gonna get the win here with that minus 105.
It's not a bad pick. I'd probably lean that way, but I'm gonna say draw.
All right, and that is the picks of the week for match day 21. Obviously, come back next week so you guys can tell us how stupid we are and how
Oh
our
yeah.
picks were awful. And probably we only got 2 right. But no, I feel really good about this week. I think I feel like as the season goes on, we start to know who's who. But then again, there's
Yeah,
always teams going on streaks, teams that aren't going on streaks. I don't know. MLS is fucking impossible
it is. It
to
is.
predict.
It is.
But yeah, let's
Yeah, so
hop
we only got
over.
a couple more things to talk about. We will hop over now internationally because the season is over. So I guess we could talk about, what's going on around the world. But there is one thing that we do need to talk about because the last time we were here talking to you guys on this podcast, we were talking about Champions League preview. And although the game did not play out how we predicted, not at all. The result was how we predicted. Um, so, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious whose fault it was for anybody who watched the game to bring Inter back into it. Um, Lukaku.
The man, the myth, the
Lukaku
legend.
was absolute caca and not the player.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah. I
was just, I mean,
mean,
so, I mean, the question I have here, I mean, I think we know the answer to it, but the question I have here is, did he sell out Inter or did City have this game in the bag the whole time?
man, so City was dominating that first half.
As
Inter,
expected, yeah.
Inter actually put up a really good fight, especially in that second half with a lot of clearly really good chances to where you could say like prime Lukaku. Well, I guess even prime Lukaku would miss those and make those mistakes, but let's just say a competent striker up top, or just say like a Lukaku in form, puts those away, and honestly, Inter wins that game. Like, let's be real. Like, those were gimme goals, like a lot
Yeah,
of those. And those should have went in. Look, City kind of dominated the game possession wise, but they didn't create a whole ton of like clear cut
yeah, that's
crazy
I think
chances.
Inter
I
their
thought Inter
tactical
did really good
style, yeah, Inter's tactical
defensively.
style, the way they set up, they knew who they were going to be playing against. They knew how what City and Pep wanted to do because it's been working for them the whole season. So I think their game plan was correct and it gave
And I
them the
called that
chance.
game plan.
Yeah, well, they needed to do it. They had no
Transition
other choice.
ball.
They had no other choice, and that's what they've been good at, and that's all they can really do against this City team. Um, so yeah, tactically, I think Inter did everything they could just for Lukaku to sell them out. I think they did sell them out, and I think if you're looking at just the first half, yeah, City did have it in the bag, and if you're looking, on paper, City had it in the bag, but the game definitely played out a little bit like we thought, and a little bit like like we didn't. I didn't think Inter. I thought Inter would definitely play with that tactical style. Didn't think that they were going to do so well with it and to the point where they had a chance to equalize and maybe even win the game.
Yeah,
That all
because
goes
I mean,
down to
we all
Lukaku. I mean,
know.
that was just I mean, everyone was talking shit about him. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any other way to slice it. He's being tossed around like a hot potato. I mean, honestly, I mean, with Lukaku, the way like the rumors are going with like, oh, where he's going to end up, he's basically being juggled around all these teams and nobody wants him. Nobody.
Yeah,
And
and I
you can see
mean,
why.
a I mean, as for the game, it's like I mean, look, I mean, City was going to dominate the stat sheet. We already knew that. It was just the way they play with Pep, the type of talent, the amount of money they have put into that roster. We knew that. I mean, they were going to dominate the stat sheet, but obviously, we all know in soccer and football, like it doesn't matter what you do in the stat sheet. Like it doesn't matter how much possession you have, especially us as Inter Miami fans.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter. Like if you can get the 2 goals, all it matters is getting into the back of the net. And honestly, like Inter, those shots they had were more clear cut, higher expected goal, uh, whatever rating you want to give it, more so than what City had. So really, if you had any competent player that wasn't blocking the goal or completely missed an open shot, I think any you no, you put Lataro in that situation, they win that game.
Yeah, I
So it's
agree.
like, yeah,
I agree.
but it's hard for me to say City had it in the bag because like it's at the end of the day when you miss 2 clear-cut opportunities like that, like and any other professional makes that, like you could clearly say they won that game even though
Yeah.
City was the better team,
Let's
they
put it
played
like
better,
that.
they had more
City
stats. It
fans,
doesn't matter. At the
li-
end of the day, if you have that if you're able to create enough chances to where you get those easy goals, then that's how you win. The
yeah.
only problem was they couldn't put it away
Yeah, but I was gonna say, let's put it
because of
like
one
this.
player.
I would say City didn't really have it in the bag because if you were gonna ask like true City fan, lifelong City fans, how they were feeling about those chances and things like that, they were probably sweating. I mean,
You
yes,
could borderline
as
say they're
successful
lucky.
as
I
they
mean,
were,
shit. You
yeah, as
could say they're
successful as
lucky.
they've been the past few years, this is the one trophy that they needed. So I'm sure they were nervous as hell, um, especially with those chances. So I don't think it was in the bag. On
I think
paper,
you
it
could say
was.
they got lucky.
Yeah,
I think you
they.
could
Yeah,
borderline say they got lucky
yeah,
because I
yeah.
think any professional striker puts those away. I really like. I mean, or doesn't get in the way. Like
Hmm.
you could say they're like it wasn't like City went in there and dominated. They won 1-0.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. So
and
it was very interesting.
it was, but yeah, I mean it's a shame Inter lost. I love to see the
Yeah,
demise
we
of
wanted,
City,
yeah, we wanted Inter, but unfortunately the result played out kind of, what we
but
predicted. I'm gonna skip
let's
over some of these rumors
yeah.
because you know what, some of these they're still a lot of things are changing. I've been kind of checking as we're going through, and I don't feel like it's worth, especially with all the shit we had to talk about today. I don't think it's worth talking about
All right,
these
we'll hold on
rumors
to it.
just yet. but I do think that it is a big story to talk about what you have last. And I think it's a broad topic. I want to ask. So we're going to be talking about Saudi Arabia and their accusations of sports washing. I mean, we already talked about Messi and how much money he was offered to go to Saudi Arabia, and now we have rumors that Thomas Partey will be leaving to go to Saudi Arabia. You have all these other players like Benzema and Conte going to Saudi Arabia, Ruben Neves going to Saudi Arabia.
Bernardo Silva,
Yeah, Bernardo Silva.
they're
So
wild. That
so
was probably the
so
crazy.
is the hypocrisy, and I'm sure you guys have talked about uh and maybe I'm wrong. I haven't kept up the past week, but have you guys on the normal sports podcast talked about, the live golf situation or anything like that?
No, we have not gotten to it. We've talked about it in the past, when the live thing first went down and the whole statement from
And
PGA, which I don't want to get too much off
yeah,
topic.
you don't need to get too into it,
PGA,
but
fucking
it
scumbags. Fuck
yeah,
you,
yeah,
PGA. You talked
yeah.
all that shit.
But
All that
I do want
shit.
to ask though, um, because it is relevant, and I'll get it. I'll connect it in a minute. What was the general feeling about Live on that podcast with you and your other guys? Was it what
Look,
did
I
you guys call
mean,
it at the
none
time?
of us are fans of what they're doing in the Middle East. And they're
Okay.
clearly using blood money to buy things, and it no one likes it, but we never really faulted the players, because at the end of the day, dude, like,
Mm.
this is life-changing money.
I
It's
mean, look at
like,
Messi. Not everyone's Messi. I mean, yes, they were offering him a
not
stupid
everyone's
amount of
messy,
money.
man.
They were offering him a stupid amount of money, but I'm looking at it and it's like they're offering Thomas Partey from Arsenal 100 million a year. 100 million a year. You know what fucking money that is? That's crazy. They pay quarterbacks that in 5-year deals sometimes. I mean, maybe not anymore, but shit.
Yeah, that's like 2 years
In
now.
2 years ago, maybe, yeah, but still, you get the idea. Like, it's crazy. So this is where I'm going to connect it. You have it's all across sports. It's not just a soccer issue. We're just seeing it now in soccer, and that's why we can talk about
I
it
mean, we
because
saw it
now
in
it's.
World Cup.
But we're seeing it. You saw it in the World Cup. You saw it in other sports like the
Golf,
UFC and
UFC,
WWE,
F1.
F1. They're all going so from fighting to soccer to any sport. They're all having events in Saudi Arabia. So
Or just
it
the
is
Middle
it is
East in
true
general,
that
yeah.
a lot of Premier League players are going, and yes, Premier League fans do have the tendency to whine at stuff that they shouldn't be. They're just whining because they're privileged. Privileged as Premier League. I say that as a Premier League fan. I'm a big Premier League fan. I could say
Yeah.
this. I mean, sometimes the whining is like, okay, guys, calm the fuck down. We get it. You're the Premier League. This is not a case where if people are complaining that it's them whining. This is justified. I mean, the amount of money that they're pumping into it and just saying, "Oh, no sports washing." Uh,
So let's get to the question. So I'm curious to see what your thought is now, because we might disagree on this one. So, do you think that Premier League fans are being hypocritical about what they're saying about Saudi Arabia?
no, because not every team. There's what two teams do you have that are like conglomerate owned? You got City, and you got um, Newcastle, who was specifically owned by Saudi Arabia. Um, and they'll lie to themselves. Yes, I'm sure there's plenty of hypocritical fans of those teams, but any other team in the Premier League, we've never liked it ever. So I don't think it's hypocritical, um, because if you go back before all this shit was happening, you'll see people like me and other people complaining about City and complaining, even Newcastle and what they're doing now and going, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, another one.
So
Like we were
so here's
complaining
my
about that
thing.
before. So, yes, you're going to have fans of Newcastle and fans of City who are, you know, if you were to ask them without the sports, hey, are you against this and whatever, and they'd say yes, but then they see all the players coming into their teams and all the trophies they're winning. I don't think you're going to find a City fan complaining right now. You know what I mean?
So
I mean,
I'll
they just
say
came off
this.
such a great season with the Champions League, Premier League, um, FA Cup. They're going to be somewhat
Treble.
hypocritical, but Premier League fans as a whole have always not been happy about this. So I don't think it's unfair to complain about it happening in Saudi Arabia.
See, this is where I disagree with you. It's not about, yeah, maybe they complained about City and Newcastle with the Saudi Arabia thing, but the Premier League has been benefiting and paying outrageous salaries compared to the rest outside of just Saudi Arabian owners. I mean, the American owners,
Yeah, and you're
even
right,
the English
but
owners.
it's been
I
like
mean, those
that. It's
TV
been like that for a while now.
it's
I
been
mean,
like that since the
pre
90s
all
pretty
that,
much.
pre
Yeah,
all
but
that the conglomerate stuff. So I can see your point, but I
so
would
here's my
disagree.
thing though. It's like because when did the Premier League really start taking off was right, and I did research on this, was right after they signed the massive Sky Sports deal, or Sky Sports came into a thing in the 90s. Once that money started flowing in, the Premier League, that's when it forever changed for them. So where they were, I mean, shit, look at Chelsea. People were literally just complaining about Chelsea spending almost $300 million in transfer fees.
Yeah, well,
Is that a Saudi Arabian owner?
they had an owner who, you
Yeah,
know what?
but
Let's be
regardless,
honest. That there were complaints about him too because of the Russia and all that
yeah,
shit.
but regardless, this is
Because
something
they're an
that the Prem has been doing.
oligarchy, so you can argue that Russia
Yeah,
kind of has a similar economic structure at the top
yeah.
as Saudi. So
I mean,
but then again, I'm an
regardless,
Arsenal fan, so I've always hated him. So
but
I don't know
regardless,
if I could
here's what
speak
I'm
too much on
saying
that.
though, is that you've been having these teams that, I mean, shit, even bottom table Premier League teams are paying way more than what any mid table, even high table of like the front outside of PSG,